Inspiration for this piece comes from a soulful place for us at the seaside in Romania called Vama Veche, which translates Old Customs. The magical story of Vama Veche starts in the 70s when various teachers and free spirits started to take over this little village and rent accommodation from the fishermen around it. This was the trigger for many artists, intellectuals, hippies and free-spirited people to make this place a bohemian seaside shelter and become a magical alternative community away from consumerism and the restrictive ideals from the communist times. Vama Veche is a symbol of freedom and color, and nowadays, unfortunately, Vama Veche accommodates a more mainstream crowd. It has changed, but the spirit of all times and our memories will never fade.
I sanded the top to bare wood, starting with an 80 grit to remove the old varnish, and then I used a 220 grit to smooth it out, going to the wood grain direction. Then I cleaned the piece well with white lightening.
Now back to painting. For the base coat I started with limeade, making sure the paint gets really well in between the carvings. I just didn't apply limeade on the corners and edges, as there we will apply another color in a second. I applied mermaid tail on the edges and then I blended them using up and down and side motions. But for this first coat you don't need the perfect blending. If the paint starts to dry out, just mist some water and it will reactivate it, problem sorted. On the drawer, I did a cute blending with limeade in the middle as a highlight and then mermaid tail shadows. And now, let's move working on the second coat. I started also with limeade, going over the same spots as in the first coat, getting the paint really good in between the carvings. Blending in mermaid tail now, which I applied on the edges. I actually blended them with the same brush I used for the mermaid tail because I want the teal to be more intense, but where it meets with the limeade will create a really nice and soft highlight. We usually use a clean brush for the blending part, but here in this situation it just worked out this way. Afterwards I blended in the beautiful peacock. First I took a small amount of paint and I applied it on the corners and then just lightly blended it into the mermaid tail. I took my teal brush also and I faded out the peacock a little more. On the side I did the same blending and I lift up a bit of the teal on those beautiful carvings, but like going over them with the leftover paint, no need to pick up more at this point. I made sure to go over the top and bottom of the carvings again to make them stand out even more. I blended in peacock and I also went over the carvings, but being careful not to cover the mermaid tail completely. Now it's time for Bunker Hill Blue. The same, I applied it on the corners and then I blended it in with the brushes I used for the previous colors. This is going to create such lovely shadows. Now let's work on the details, finally. I applied Colonel Mustard at the base of these details, but making sure to be in between the carvings, as when we will cover it later, the yellow will be really nice peeking through and very subtle. I applied it on the corners a little. Now let the dry brushing begin with Rusty Nail. Just pick up paint and clean the excess on a piece of paper until it's dry. Then I went over those beautiful carvings, corners. I also did like a little drip here. Our favorites. And look what is laying here in the back of the piece, a piece of carrot cake. And speaking of carrot cakes, the next color is Florida Orange, which I will also dry brush over the rusty nail while letting it peeking through a little bit, just to have like shades variety.
On the top, I applied Voodoo Gel Stain in Tobacco Road using a pad, going from one side to another. One coat was enough to reveal and give a marvelous shade to this stunning wood. We seal the top with gator hide in 3 layers, and then we seal the whole piece with 3 coats of flat clear coat.
And this is the final result. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like this tutorial or it inspired you in any way. See you next time. Bye!